Hello, my name is Matthias, and welcome to the Game Week 5 edition of the FPL School podcast. With me today, as always, I have Kevin as my co-host for the podcast, and I'm just going to ask you straight away, are you agreeing with me with my statement that Haaland is the best asset in the game? No cap?
Yeah, I definitely think so, as someone who actually captained him, so for sure.
Yeah, for sure. But now we just saw Salah just dominate for Liverpool in the Champions League after a lot of people had written him off as an FPL prospect. So how do you see this whole Haaland-Salah thing? Like, you obviously had both of them the whole season so far. You had them both in Game Week 1. Then you wildcarded this past Game Week, which we'll see pretty soon. And you kept them both. So what are you thinking with the outlook for both of them? Are you going to keep both? Are you going to switch a bit between them? Or what's your outlook for having both Haaland and Salah going forward as well?
I am 1,000,000% going to have both until Salah goes to AFCON. So, yeah, I have no intention of going against the grain. The only thing that might do anything in regards to that is if I notice like a dip in form. I think one of the worst things I did last year was hold on to Haaland all that time whilst he just kept not scoring and then eventually got injured and all types of things. So once I notice a noticeable dip where you can clearly see that's going to be affecting them. And I think in Haaland's case, it was way worse because City were just not playing well.
Yeah.
But considering everything now, with just what a great run he's had so far, this is recorded before the games tomorrow, which is on Thursday, where he plays against Napoli with Kevin De Bruyne coming back home. So it'll remain to be seen, what he'll do there. But considering his form of late, he's just going crazy. And I feel credit to anyone who has Haaland and has been captaining him throughout, because you would have gotten good results, and you were super unlucky like I was against Spurs, where he could have easily gone a goal and assist if things just went his way. But considering the fact that we are now just getting to see more consistent output from him, it's really awesome to see. Salah has been the one who's been a little bit more disappointing out of the two, but all it takes is a European night like he had tonight to really get things going again. And also, and I'm going to say it, Salah is a bit pen dependent as well. I mean, he did score a good jillion last year. So now that Isak is starting to play as well, Frimpong is back, you're going to start to see a bit more consistency. And it's very telling that the minute Szoboszlai wasn't the right back, Frimpong immediately gave him the sort of support, and you don't see him get pushed out wide as much because he gets the sort of actual coverage, because he has a speedy right back track that and make that run for him and navigate that space. So
you can see that for the goal 100%. Especially.
Like, for sure.
Frimpong came on the overlap, and then Salah was forced to go inside, and then he scored like straight away.
And I think I didn't feel like it was such a hot take when I originally said it in the podcast a couple of weeks ago, when before, I think the week, before FPL really started, we did one right before the launch. And I said, I think Frimpong will be more suited to Salah's style of play than Trent. And I don't mean that as like a negative to Trent. I just think that because of his pace and because of how he does a lot of overlaps, which is something Trent couldn't do as much because of his pace, you're going to see Salah navigate space a little bit better than what he could have done with Trent. And I think, I hope, I don't hope, I don't like Liverpool, but I think as someone who appreciates Frimpong and Salah outside of rivalries and stuff like that, I think for Salah's sake, he wants to keep Frimpong as fit as possible, because he will help Salah navigate so much more space and get some real output, as he did today with the goal and assist. Of course, luckiest assist ever to Robertson, because it was technically a free kick that he deflected in, but still Salah should have had way more goals and assists in the game. So encouraging to see as someone who owns him.
I made a point to tweet that out before the game, that I was excited to see Salah with a proper right back behind him and not just Szoboszlai, like you mentioned there. Like, Szoboszlai is a midfielder, so he's going to drift more inside to the midfield, and that's going to push Salah out wide. And Frimpong is the opposite. He's a fullback that goes on overlaps, so he's going to push Salah more inside, and that's what we saw in this game. And that's why I think Salah is someone that I'm like, I always had, like, before the season I talked about going from Salah to Haaland in Game Week 6. And now a lot of people are looking to do the same thing, especially before this game. Maybe they are changing their minds now, but I'm now also thinking like, yeah, I should probably try to keep Salah and then still get Haaland, and I can actually do that if I just save my transfer this upcoming game week. So yeah, plenty of things like that to discuss for sure. I also think like having Haaland and Salah, I'm gonna try to do it a couple times this season. I don't think I'm gonna do it like consistently. I don't know. I haven't quite decided yet, but I'm gonna try to have them at some points together at least. And other times I'll just have the one. Other times I'll just have the other one. And I'll change it around a little bit. But yeah, either way, you have had a lot of success with having both. You also had a lot of success using your wildcard this week. That is the first thing we're going to look at, your score from Game Week 4. You used your wildcard chip because you had so many issues with injuries and like just a thin squad in general. I think that's like one of the downsides to your approach of having no bench, essentially, is that if you get some injuries and stuff, you're pretty prone to like having to do drastic changes pretty quickly. So you pulled off the wildcard, and that was definitely a good decision because you can see you got a lot of points this past game week, 83 points. With Haaland captain, you kept Haaland as well. I saw so many people wildcarding and not having Haaland this game week, and I thought that was kind of crazy. The past podcast that we did a week ago, or no, the team section video actually, where I talked about the manager of the week from last week. They had used all their other chips, bench boosts, wildcard, and free hit in the first 3 game weeks. And it seemed natural to me to just use triple captain on Haaland in Game Week 4. And that would have been a great idea because that would have been 13 extra points from a captain. So yeah, that was a good game. Man United at home. That's something that could be good for Liverpool in Game Week 8 as well. That's why I'm looking to potentially keep Salah, because he could be a good captaincy choice in that game week, for example. But either way, you used your wildcard chip. So you used both your free hit in Game Week 3 and now your wildcard chip in Game Week 4. And it has worked out pretty well for you because you are currently 585k overall. So you've had a pretty good start to the season. And I think you're pretty excited about that. So what do you think about your decision to wildcard? Any regrets after using the wildcard? Anything you would have done differently? What are you happy with? And how is your outlook for FPL going forward now, really, with the team that you have currently in place?
Yeah, I mean, I'm generally speaking very happy with the outcome of the wild card. I think Semenyo was always going to be someone that I was going to pick up. Gyökeres, I thought could be just he became like a real template pick. I mean, all 3 of them, Pedro, Gyökeres, and Haaland are pretty, I would say, template
Well,
picks
Haaland
for
isn't
the striker.
yet, but he's going to be.
People are stupid, to be honest. I'm sorry, but like, I feel so vindicated in having Haaland from the get-go because he has absolutely killed it so far, and I reckon we're going to see him tear up Napoli as well. I have him in UCL fantasy, so yeah, I'm very happy with Haaland, and like I never considered getting rid of him even on the wild card.
Yeah,
Like neither
sure.
him or Salah were ever going to leave, and yeah, I went very differential from the looks of it because almost everyone captained Salah against Burnley, which is
Yeah.
hilarious because he never scored at Turf Moor, and it took the most bullshit pen because Hannibal decided to become the dumbest,
Yeah.
defender. Because why would you even raise your arm like that when
No, he just turned around
defending
and
a
then
cross? It makes no sense. Everything, the whole action was so stupid. Like everything about that was just incredibly dumb. And yeah, and
mentality
seeing him
monsters.
awful. It's always Hannibal causing these sort of bullshit
Yeah.
things happen against the big clubs as well. So, yeah, really frustrating. I mean, I have Salah, so it's nice that he did score, but really frustrating that there should have been a bigger gap between myself and people who captain Salah, in my opinion,
Yeah.
because Salah did
Nothing.
jack shit.
Yeah.
Like Haaland could have easily done more because
Yeah.
we were this close to us, Haaland assist to Reinders for a similar sort of thing that Haaland actually scored, but for whatever reason he chipped it wide and pissed me off because that's 11-point swing there because it would have gone additional 6 points and 5 from Reinders. So frustrating with that. Frustrating that I didn't listen to you because you actually advised me to go Pedro instead of Pedro Porro to go for Van de Ven, and he of course scored against West Ham sadly, and
Yeah.
it was really frustrating to see Pedro Porro just not take anything, which is the reason he cost the million more, essentially. So
Yeah.
really frustrating with that, but of course kept the clean sheet and was never in doubt and actually played 90 minutes compared to Van de Ven,
Mm.
for example, and came close with the cross, I think, towards then, something like
Mm.
that.
I mean, my
Obviously,
advice was to downgrade Peraporo to Van de Ven and then upgrade Richards to Munoz, which was my
yeah,
idea. Because I think like the Palace defenders, or Munoz for that matter, like he's really good for now. Like the two next fixtures, this one, Gaming 4 and Gaming 5, who's really good. But then you can move him on to someone else that is expensive. Like Frimpong could be a good alternative. Tarkovsky could be a good alternative. Like you have a lot of alternatives in that place. But with Peraporo, you kind of just need to keep him now because you have such good fixtures over a long term. So I think it makes more sense for that in that regard as well. But Poro's still a good player. He can score from open play as well, even though he doesn't take set pieces. So that could help out and work out in the end. But it seems like Romero and Van de Ven are more the better picks now at the better value because they are cheaper and also because they're so good at set pieces where they are likely to score, as we saw with both of them really scoring. Romero getting a goal disallowed, which was kind of BS, honestly, as a West Ham fan. And also Van de Ven scoring when he just stayed up after a corner and had a really nice finish for what it's worth, because he is a pretty good finisher considering he is a centre back. But yeah, the rest of your team. What else did you think about your wildcard team?
yeah. Besides that, obviously, I kind of regret Jif now. That could have easily have been Anderson, for example, who was at that
Yeah,
point the same price point. So a bit frustrating there, considering the next game is Brentford. But again, Brentford have shown a little bit of consistency and a little bit more robust nature
scoring
to
goals.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah, scoring goals and went through in the cup as well. So they're showing a little bit more consistency. And Dango looked really good in the game, even though he didn't score in the cup game.
yeah,
Sorry.
against Aston Villa. Yeah.
And yeah, Senesi is one of those where I was just like, well, for the price point, considering the games, feels like a good pick. And of course, Brighton score off their one chance that they have the entire
Yeah.
game. It's one of those things where it just didn't work out. Dewsbury Hall, unlucky not to get more points. I think Everton looked pretty great against Aston Villa, but just lacked that little bit of extra about them.
Yeah.
Beto, of course, had one of his sort of typical Beto games where he kind of stunk it. He easily should have scored in the game, but like got his foot wrong. It
Yeah.
looked like watching prime Calvert-Lewin, to be honest. Yeah, a bit frustrating, but I can't be unhappy. 83 points is great.
Yeah, it's looking good. The only other thing that I would probably have like a small issue with, which again is why I thought like having someone that you can sell pretty soon at a high price in defense. You don't have any Arsenal defenders, and Gabriel got 9 points this past game week. He looks really good for the future. Arsenal have fantastic fixtures from Gaming 7 onwards. But yeah, at that point you are getting close to where Pedro Porro doesn't have those good matches anymore. So you could do Porro to Gabriel around that time, like when Pedro Porro's fixtures start drying up a little bit. So that could still be on the docket. But I think if you had Munoz for like this game week and then the next game week, and then sell him to Gabriel would have been like the better move that you could have done. But yeah, you also have 0.0 in the bank. I think you used all your budget or close to it at least. You can double check that. But yeah, so yeah, I also think your team is looking really good. You have Liverpool coverage, you have Chelsea coverage, you have Arsenal coverage, you have City coverage. Like you have all the main teams, and you still have Semenyo, who's a good pick. Reinders is a good pick. Dewsbury Hall is a good pick. Yeah, your team is looking really good for the future, in my opinion. Defense as well, I do quite like having Goodmanson as like a 4.0 defender, just because you don't really need as much money in the defense. And Joof, like, yeah, didn't look good this past game week, but he has looked really good in general this season. He is super attacking. Could have had like an extra goal in the first game, especially against Sunderland. And yeah, has just looked really good, especially with Somerville now being back. Like those two on the same wing should produce some FPL points throughout this season. So yeah, I think you're off to a really good start. I think the wildcard was a good idea in the end because you had so many like issues with your team. So yeah, it's looking pretty good for you right now with 83 points in Game 4 and 585k overall, which is really, really nice so far. Let's move to someone else that has had as good of a start to the season, and that is Kimo, the third founding member of the FPL School podcast. He is about what 50-ish points behind me, and I'm like 10 points behind you. So like he is pretty far behind now, and got 50 points this past game week. Not the best game week. He had Salah captain. He does not have Haaland. He does not have any City players at all. He has to double up on Nottingham Forest defense. He has Watkins. He has Fernandes, Wirtz. Like most things have gone wrong for Kimo so far. He also bought Kudus before 2 blanks. So yeah, he also benched Dewsbury Hall when he got 12 points this past game week. So pretty much everything has gone wrong for Kimo really. And his team, I don't think it's like something that needs changing immediately because both Aston Villa and Nottingham Forest have still good fixtures at least to lean on. So he has a triple up with Sells, Williams and Wood for Nottingham Forest. He has a double up on Aston Villa with Konsa and Watkins. But they have decent-ish fixtures for the next 2 game weeks at least. So I think he's like in an okay position for now, but I think he should look to wildcard pretty soon, probably with all the issues that he has potentially. But he could also do a bit of free transfers. He did save a transfer at least this past game week, so that's the one plus that he has from this past game week. But yeah, he needs some change in his team for sure. So what do you think would be the first priority if you were Kimo? Like, what would you look at first in terms of changing with your team? Anything that sticks out to you with the team? Like, what does he need? Who does he need to get rid of to get that? Like, what do you think?
You can't say I didn't say wild card like crazy. Like I mentioned it multiple times in the previous podcast, and this is exactly why. Because besides Salah, the rest of his team kind of sucks. So yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, or maybe not sucks, but specifically for that game week or this game week that came, it wasn't looking good, bro. Like the fact that he's got triple up Nottingham Forest when they're playing
Arsenal.
Arsenal away for Big Ange's first game in charge, that was always going to go to hell.
Yeah,
Then you have Petrapor, great look, you know. But then you have Fernandes against City. Like
yeah,
that's when you should be like, let me just try Haaland for a week, sort of thing. Like that's why free hit for his team for the previous game week that just went would have been perfect. So a bit of a loss, 50 points is not the worst, but it could have been so much more because if he had free hit, he would have kept Salah, he would
yeah,
have had Haaland, he would have targeted Spurs defense, he would have had an Arsenal defender or striker as well. Like it could have looked so much better. Like he wouldn't have
yeah.
Florian Wirtz and Fernandes just wasting time and space. So
A
yeah,
lot of people had good free hits this game week actually,
yeah,
especially with all the
yeah, yeah.
defenders that got so many points.
1,000,000%. There was a lot of easy ones to pick from
Hmm.
because there were a lot of clean sheets. There were a lot of teams that you trusted as well. I mean, in my case, I trusted Spurs and Crystal Palace. I would have trusted Arsenal as well. The only thing is, I had to get I had to go down from Gabriel. Realistically, what I should have gone is maybe Calafiori or Timber for the Pedro Porro spot and made
Yeah,
Jiff into Van de Ven or Romero
yeah.
if I might have been able to have afforded that.
Hmm.
So yeah, but besides the point, I still think that he should have definitely free hit considering the sort of glaring issues that his team has, especially defensively.
Yeah, but on the topic of Calafiori and Timber, actually, like how highly do you rate those prospects? Because when you see people mention Arsenal defenders, it's usually just Raya and Gabriel, and that's it. Because people are scared of the rotation for the fullbacks for Arsenal. But how do you feel about it? Because it seems like Calafiori, especially like the way he's playing now, like he has a really specific role. Like, sure, Lewis Kelly is supposed to be a midfielder, so he could step into that same position like Calafiori is doing and play like sort of midfield and then left back and then right wing. Like he's all over the place, Calafiori. And then Timber on the other side, like he seems pretty nailed as well, in my opinion. And he's so good
Yeah.
at set pieces. Like we've seen it. Like he scored like a lot of points in what was it, game week 2 against Leeds. But he has that in him. Like he's really good with his movements in the box. He's not the tallest, so people don't really think of him as like a huge like set piece target. But he's so good at movements in the box, and I think he has a lot of value. So yeah, are these like the guys you're looking for Arsenal defense? Do you think if you're going there, or are you more like just like Gabriel Raya, the safer in terms of minutes approach?
I mean, obviously, as you mentioned, Raya and Gabriel are a bit more nailed,
Yeah,
of course, but I think for what these guys offer, which is whilst people are injured, whilst they're just beginning the season and all these type of stuff, I see them as nailed
Yeah.
because it seems like Arteta is very stuck, and it's fun to see. Is pretty stuck in his ways in regards to these guys are consistently playing while they're keeping the clean sheets. Why would you rock the boat
Yeah.
too much? So, I mean, god damn it, they played both of them despite it being a fairly easy game. I mean, in my opinion, a fairly easy game against Nottingham Forest. So, and you got to see mainly this. I think maybe I have to double check because I can't remember, but virtually the same 11 against uh,
Bilbao.
Bilbao
Yeah.
in a away game in the Champions League. So, like, clearly he trusts the guys that he has. Of course, Ben White, when he's properly back, could be a bit scary. I mean, I call him Lewis Smelly for a reason, just as a joke. I don't actually not rate him. I just think that Calafiori, for the money you buy him for, should be playing, and he is
Yeah.
really good. Like
He's
when he
looked really good so
really gets
far.
going, he's a guy who can provide goals and assists. And
Yeah.
the crazy thing is, he can shoot from virtually outside the box, which is
Yeah.
really useful to have from a fullback. So I think he's great. I think Timber's great. The only thing, like you said, that scares me is the fact that they could be at any point dropped, whilst Gabriel and a Saliba are most likely always going to play. So if you
Yeah.
can spare that zero point 0.5 or zero point 0.6 or whatever difference it's going to be to have Gabriel or just to save it and have Raya, go for it. Of course, Gabriel's a bit more fun because you can get DEFCON. He's a aerial threat and all this type of stuff, whilst Raya needs to depend on saves and
They
bonus
don't get
points
many
for that.
saves, Arsenal.
And doesn't, yeah, because
Yeah.
they're so good defensively. So
I'm not sold
I'd
on
say,
Raya personally.
and that's fair enough. He's worse than Pickford. So finally, it's good to hear you say it. So
In terms of
I would
FPL pick.
say, so Gabriel is 100% the play, in my opinion. And I do
Yeah.
regret getting rid of him because a part of me is wondering what way I could have saved some money. Potentially, maybe not going with Yekres, but when he's on penalty duty and, is still playing well against some of these uh, lower sides, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm happy with him, but he has sort of stunk it against bigger teams. So it'll be interesting to see if he can finally score against, and he probably will because Arsenal are playing at home and he's been
Yeah, against
scoring at
City.
home. So yeah, hopefully he can score against City. Hopefully that's a goal fest because I don't have defenders from either team.
Yeah. I mean, that is like the thing that I hear with Gyökeres. Like that's also like the stats going around from Portugal
Oh
as well.
god damn it! I didn't realize Jeff lost. Did he go down in price?
Yeah, he's down to 4.4.
Okay.
But yeah, when I hear Gyökeres like, oh, he never scores against like the bigger teams, I'm thinking like he's going to be amazing against the bad teams then, like because that's what he's been doing in Portugal, I guess.
Yeah.
Like he scored so many goals, and all of them apparently are against the worst teams. So yeah, we already seen it against Leeds, scored twice, a penalty and a really nice, well-taken goal. And he's just really good. Like, people have just been super underrating him because he looks really clunky, looks really clumsy. He runs, like, super heavy and all that stuff. But he is actually pretty good overall as well. Not just in terms of goal scoring, but, like, setting up people. We saw a couple touches this past game week. Like, he's just a good striker. That's why I started the season with him because, yeah, I'm sold. He's good. Has some tougher fixtures now. Even like offensively, I think Arsenal's fixtures are a bit difficult and more difficult than people would think because it is Fulham and Crystal Palace, two teams that are really solid defensively. But West Ham in Game Week 7 is also looking super juicy. So yeah, I'm pretty content with having him. But yeah, the next few fixtures: City, Newcastle, then he has West Ham, which is amazing, and then like Palace, Fulham. We'll see what I do with him eventually, but yeah, pretty happy to have him currently. But either way, we sort of went on an Arsenal tangent a little bit, even though we were talking about Kimo. But yeah, we'll get to Kimo's plans actually pretty soon, so we'll talk about that when we get to the plans for Game Week 5. I think the team is looking like okay for Game Week 5. Like you said, free hit probably would have been the best case for Game Week 4, especially considering he only got 50 points, and a lot of people free hitting got like 70, 80-ish points. So he definitely could have done that, but that's the past. We have to look into the future pretty soon, but we were going to dwell a little bit more with the past with the manager of the week this past game week, who actually scored the most points, twice as many as Kimo actually, because we finally have our 100-point scorer plus in the manager of the week column this week. Mohamed Abdul Rahman got 100 points exactly. This is the best manager who didn't use a chip this past game week in the FPL Scope Mini League. And that's why he is the manager of the week. And if you guys watching want to be the manager of the week as well, you can join the FPL Scope Mini League with the league code FNPQ83. And if you get the highest score in a particular game week, you'll get featured on the podcast, just as Mohamed Abdul Rahman is about to be right now. So for his team, in goal, Donnarumma with 6 points. In defense, a lot of points there. Virgil van Dijk with 8, Gabriel with 9, Richards with 6, Van de Ven with 14. In midfield, Florian Wirtz, a couple duds you have to have as well. Semenyo with 13 points, Kudus with 3, and Doku with 10, which is interesting. He had Doku for this season, which is interesting because he's looked really, really good. Like, he's been by far their best winger that's been playing consistently. He's looked so much better than Marmoush, which is kind of interesting. And he just helps, especially with Reinders. Like, he makes Reinders become a much more threat of an FPL asset because, he keeps out wide and he's just been really good, Doku, with 10 points there. Haaland as captain, of course, 26 points. And then Ekitike with 2 points against Burnley. So, Ekitike, Wirtz, and Van Dijk should have been even more points against Burnley, but they just struggled to score for some reason in that game. On the bench, Keller with 2 points. And Ndiaye with 5 points. Could have had him starting over Wirtz and Kudus against West Ham and Burnley. I don't really begrudge not playing Ndiaye for that matter. But Hoover on the bench also with 0, and Mark Yu with 0 points as well. And 2 transfers this past game week. Sanchez to Donnarumma. Interesting transfer. Not sure what you think about Donnarumma. We'll get to that probably. And then Aït-Nouri to Gabriel, which worked out perfectly, which is something you did, or not you didn't do. You did from Pong to Gabriel actually back in Game Week 2. But anyways, 100 points. All chips remaining as well for this manager. What do you think of the team in general, and finally having a 100+ point scorer in the manager of the week, and the transfers? I also want to hear your thoughts about.
Yeah, generally speaking, some good transfers. Obviously, Gabriel, Aït-Nouri, good. Donnarumma, Sanchez. I mean, I guess it's good in the sense of having City coverage and for Arsenal coverage, but I would also argue that you might need to look at some Chelsea players because he's got 0 of them. So maybe a fun thing for him to consider is the potential return of the legend that is Cole Palmer with a Wirtz transfer there.
2.5
Also,
bank.
maybe also considering the fact, 2.5 on the bank as well. Oof, that makes you much closer towards
I have to double check that, but yeah.
Because what Wirtz is
8.5 or 8.4. Maybe he's gone down. Don't really know.
Surely, why would Palmer have not gone down in price? People would have sold him like hotcakes.
Yeah, but he's been flagged.
10.4.
So
10.4.
Yeah.
So he's 10.4, and if you're saying Wirtz is, then he
8.5.
actually does have it.
Yeah, assuming he has that amount of money left. Might just be my graphics being wrong. But yeah, if he has that left, then yeah, because he has Haaland, he has no Salah, so it would make sense that he has a bit more money in the bank than you, for example. But
yeah,
also
that
really
I would
cheap
100%
bench.
suggest looking into that as well, because Wirtz is not enough Liverpool coverage in that regards. He's not good enough. And Ekitike, TikTok, my friend, because he looks like he's going to be Suck's bench warmer, to be honest, which is crazy. I thought he'd try and figure, but he's so Arne Slot is so like loyal to Gakpo. It's crazy. It's
Yeah.
I haven't seen stuff like this since Christopher Olsson used to play for the Swedish national team every week, and every week all the Swedish Twitter would be talking about is he must be really good at BJs, because why is he playing every single week? Because no one understood why he kept playing. Hakpo is a different story considering he's a quality footballer, but I still thought Ekitike's form would have been rewarded a little bit more than what it has been in regards to like I get it, Isak was bought to be a starter, but Ekitike is no slouch. So a bit disappointing to see, but definitely something to mess around with there. Or potentially just getting Salah in if you don't trust Palmer. But I think Salah Palmer are two players that you have to consider for this team. But
Yeah.
besides that, awesome, well done.
Yeah.
It's not going to be like this forever because Van de Ven is not going to score, like play as Harry Kane in the box for some
Yeah.
stupid reason, and of course with West Ham being 10 men for most of the game,
Yeah.
and but Virgil, great, Gabriel, great, Donnarumma's a great shout. Doku, I've always said is a good player, so it's not outside of the realms of impossibility that he keeps playing. And especially with Marmoush, we don't know exactly the extent of his injury. It's like a
He's
month,
out for a
maybe.
month, just about. Yeah. He'll be back in
And
late
Doku's
October.
been great for Belgium and
Yeah, he's amazing for Belgium. He looks really good in general.
for
He's young,
City.
so
So
he might have just gone up a level.
yeah,
He's
and
always had the
he's always
talent.
for sure. And I think it's just one of those things where now you have to consider like how you want to go forward because there are the missing piece, the absolute missing piece in your team is a Salah or Palmer. Because I think having either one of those two will elevate this team and potentially maybe looking into getting João Pedro in because he's been in good form and stuff like
Yeah.
that too.
I think that would be probably my priority, but you can't really go from Gyu at 4.5 to Joe Pedro. That's not
No,
enough
but
money.
I'm saying maybe it might be
Ekitike,
it
yeah.
might be time. It's sad to say because if he
Mm-hmm.
gets to play at left wing, 100% keep Ekitike in your team. But if he doesn't, then yeah.
Yeah.
But again, I don't understand why we're like, oh, Ekitike ticking time bomb when Verts has been the worst for like 4 weeks. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's time to reconsider that too.
And for what it's worth, I think Ekitike is going to start the next game because Isak played this game, and Slot
Yeah.
has already said that he can't really play like consecutive games already. So yeah, I think he said something to the effect like if Isak plays like 60-ish minutes in the Champions League, he's not going to be able to do the same or in the next game. So I would expect Ekitike to start the next game, but from that point onwards, from game week 6 onwards, I think Isak's going to be the main man up front for Liverpool. And Slot also said before the match that he also doesn't see Ekitike as a left winger. He sees him as a striker. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with his minutes. And I think Gakpo is going to be the more surefire pick, it seems like, currently. So yeah, we'll see with that. But either way, 100 points from this manager. I also just did want to touch a little bit more upon the goalkeeper transfer here. In general, I'm not a fan of goalkeeper transfers. I don't think it's worth it. And I'm not really the biggest fan of Donnarumma either because I feel like there's so many good potential City assets. Eventually, like Reinders is already a really good player that this manager could have also had use for. You also have a lot of other players. Aït-Nouri when he comes back. Guardiola is a really cheap price. Kusano could all of a sudden be a good pick if he starts playing every single game. You have Foden. You have Haaland, of course, who's already in the team. Doku. There's so many good picks from Man City, so I don't really feel like going for a goalkeeper who's going to get 6 points realistically at most. I don't think that's a good use of the money, honestly, myself. But also the Sanchez thing, because we have gotten some new news when it comes to Sanchez, because there were some comments about Maresca saying that Sanchez can't play every game, so Jurgensen, the backup goalkeeper, is going to get some games in the Premier League. He mentioned that specifically, FA Cup and the Champions League. So that was always like my slight little doubt about Sanchez preseason. Obviously, this manager has changed out Sanchez before that quote came out, but as someone that has Sanchez yourself, right? You still have him, right, on the wildcard?
Yeah, sadly.
Are you worried? Like, what are you thinking in terms of that? You have Dubravka as a backup goalkeeper in case that happens. So I guess that's enough of a safety cushion because he's going to play most games anyway, Sanchez. So if he drops out one game, you still have Dubravka to potentially get some points for you. I can tell you, as someone that bench boosted this past game week and had Dubravka almost save the bench boost because he almost kept the clean sheet against Liverpool, he could get clean sheets in certain points, surprisingly. So how do you feel about the Sanchez thing in general? Like, is he someone that is someone you could potentially sell at some point, or are you just going to stick with him because he's still like clearly the number one goalkeeper for Chelsea, who are a good defensive team?
Are they that good defensively? Because like now I'm starting to realize the
Yeah.
errors of my ways. Because like very lucky to get a clean sheet against Fulham. Very lucky to get a clean sheet against Crystal Palace. The West Ham one, I mean, of course,
Unlucky to not keep a clean
crazy.
sheet, honestly.
But Paqueta scored a
Yeah.
absolute screamer as well, and could have almost scored, or Fulkrug almost scored as well.
Yeah.
And he just looked really shaky against Brentford in some of
Yeah.
the defensive stuff. And considering, yes, they're playing Man United away, and yes, Man United have been a bit of a meme lately, but they can score. I think Brighton at home, they can probably keep a clean sheet. Liverpool at home, fuck no. Nottingham Forest,
Away. Yeah.
not great. Sunderland at home, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Spurs, no. Then Wolves, Burnley, oh, give it to me. But
Yeah. Those might be the games that he gets rotated in. That's the worry with Sanchez now.
and that's the issue, and that's
Yeah.
my issue. That now I'm like, oh, maybe I should have just gone for Vicario before he went up by 0.1.
Yeah.
But I don't like, you know this. I'm not particularly a fan of doubling up on defense, anyways.
Yeah.
So I've always liked having, if I have Pedro Porro, then there's no point to have
Vicario.
Sanchez, but and or Vicario in that regards. So yeah, that's what I was thinking in regards to that. Because there's some people who are crazy. It's like I have Senesi and Petrovic. Why the hell would you do that? Because exactly what happened. Mitoma scored and you lost both things. Well done.
Yeah.
So part of me is wondering maybe if I should go for a Leno, but again, I don't think so, considering I don't like Brent. I still don't like the Brentford game because I think they could potentially concede in that. Aston Villa away, surely Aston Villa will have sorted their lives out by then. Then they play
Maybe.
Bournemouth, then they play Arsenal, then they play Newcastle. Like I don't like the looks of Fulham defense, even though Anderson is a crazy beast. In regards to any of the other keepers, I hate them all. Like
Yeah. Donnarumma, Raya, Pickford. I mean, could eventually get
Pickford,
a lot
I
of
could
points.
go for, and he's getting 5.5, and he consistently plays and all this type of stuff. But like, I'd rather go for
Yeah,
Tarkowski, who
for
gets
sure.
the
Defcons every
DEFCON.
game,
And
pretty much.
I mean, of course, Pickford is a pen saver and
Yeah.
showed his worth with that too.
Save
And
saver in general.
his and
Shot saver.
but again, I don't know. I think the reason why I was so drawn to Sanchez in the first place was he was a bit of a cheap enabler.
Yeah.
Considering that the best goalkeepers are 5.5 and above. Like the fact that Vicario was 5, I think is just because they conceded so much last year. But
Yeah.
like having Van de Ven at 4.5, but Tarkowski be a million more is a bit insane to me. But
It's the Defcon
fair
points.
enough.
It's the Defcon
Yeah, but it
adjustment.
is. Yeah, and all this other stuff. But yeah, I think a goalkeeper transfer could be in the midst, but
Okay.
I'll keep for now.
I think personally,
I don't know, man.
if I were you, I think like if I didn't have a backup goalkeeper that played, I would probably look at that. But since he's going to play most games and it's just going to be the odd game to drop out of, and you don't really know which game it's going to be, like I would probably just stick to it and just have Dubravka come in.
Yeah,
as
but a
spot
part
starter.
of me wants the bench boost, so I might as well.
No, but
bench
now
boost.
I don't think it's going to be an issue for this game week. But yeah, that's another point. Like yeah, it counts for you using your bench boost now. I think because I think he's still going to play now, Sanchez. I don't think the rotation is going to come now. It's
Yes,
probably
but
later
do
on
I
the
think?
season.
But do I think Man United are going to or Chelsea going to concede to Man United away when I could potentially get in another goalkeeper who is long term just as good of a choice going forward, which is why I really hate the Vicario miss, but because he went up 0.1. God damn it.
Then again, goalkeepers like you never know with them. Like they can get 9 saves
True.
and keep a clean sheet in a really tough game, and they can concede a single shot on target
course.
in like an easy game. So
Dubravka was super unlucky not to.
yeah, I mean Dubravka almost got a clean sheet. Like he was so close to getting a clean sheet against Liverpool, and then in the first game week for me, I had Matsels who conceded against Brentford, who barely had a chance in the whole game. So both matches, it was penalties that made them lose their clean sheet, by the way, and they were close to saving the penalties in both instances, but whatever. But either way, we've used quite a lot of time now in the score section, so let's move on to the future section, future predictions, this next upcoming game weeks, and our predictions for the matches as it stands right now. And first and foremost, we have Liverpool against Everton, one of the highlighted matches for us this game week, and we both have gone with a draw, interestingly enough. The first loss of points this season for Liverpool, but every game that Liverpool plays, I'm more and more just like, oh, they're going to win every game, aren't they? Because they just keep finding ways to win at the end. So, but yeah, I'm thinking maybe this time they will get a taste of their own medicine, and Everton will do kind of similar to what they did last season and score a late goal to equalize. That's what I'm thinking maybe. So 2-2, kind of inspired by the game from last season. You're going with 1-1 in this game. So as an Everton fan, looking at Liverpool, how they're looking currently, what are your feelings about this game at Anfield? It's a tough game away. I don't think Everton have won at Anfield in like God knows how many years.
It wasn't that long ago.
Isn't it like a really bad statistic?
2-3 years ago?
Oh, really?
Yeah, when Richarlison scored. I think it was like COVID times.
Okay. Everton last win at Anfield. Yeah, 2-0 in 2021. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's the first time since 1999 that you've beaten them in 2021.
I mean, that was...
So, yeah.
It was... yeah. I mean, I'm not going to say anything. I absolutely adored that win, even though it was in front of no one, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But yeah, who was playing for us at the time? Because I just remember it was Richard. Oh, of course. He who should not be named scored as well.
Okay. Fair.
But yeah, I think it's just one of those things where I just think Moyes seems to get it right against them quite frequently, as we saw in the last year. I mean, yeah, we did famously draw and lose, if I'm correct.
Yeah, you lost the first game. But that was without Moyes. That was it, Trondheim, right? I'm pretty sure.
Was it?
Wasn't it early season? Check. It might have been, but yeah.
No, that's wrong. We actually, because both matches were
draw?
The same half. So it was 2-2, and then we lost 1-0 when Jota scored. Rest in peace.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, I think I mean they tend to win 2-0 very regularly at Anfield, so it wouldn't surprise me if they managed to do it. But I don't know. I've liked the look of Everton so far. I think they've shown a lot more grit and determination, and wouldn't surprise me if Beto finally starts playing well in this most random ass game. But Everton have looked great. Liverpool have looked shaky. But, of course, Liverpool have also grinded out some crazy results as well.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't surprise me if they played well and ended up winning the game. But I don't know. Pre-Champions League game, I would have stuck. And that's when we did this predictions, by the way. For anyone who's interested, we did the predictions before we saw Liverpool play. And, I still stand by it. I think we can eke out a shitty draw. Which Everton fans will be very happy about, but Liverpool fans will be like, ugh. So, yeah, I think we can do it. I also think that's actually the best we can do as well, because I don't think a win seems improbable simply due to the striker situation right now where, unless NDI or Grealish or someone like that gets amongst the goals, it looks like we can't break down defenses, and I think that's the reason why it'll be a low scoring affair, whilst you think it could be a fun 2-2, which has happened, quite literally happened a year ago.
Liverpool concede twice every game, it seems like.
That's fair. And
not against Burnley, to be fair, but I think Everton have enough firepower. So. I feel like both teams are just better going forward than defensively currently, but that might change. Like Liverpool might look entirely different now with Frimpong especially coming in. By the way, you're talking about him. He seems like the greatest right back of all time because he scores 10 plus goals, 10 plus assists every season, and you claim that he's better defensively than Timber, who's like amazing defensively. So if that's true, then we have the next Cafu in amongst our ranks. So I'll be super excited to see him and Liverpool in general now with their full team back and Isak coming in.
Play Connor Bradley and Soboslai. Don't fucking play for him. Thanks.
We'll see. He played now in the Champions League, so maybe they'll give him
Stop.
some rest. We'll see.
Yes,
But
please.
yeah, interesting game. I think both teams are better going forward than defensively, at least at the moment. Also, Everton, once they get Branthwaite back, they're going to be a lot better defensively, but he doesn't seem to be back for this fixture either, even though he's back in light training, I've heard. So could be back pretty soon. But yeah, interesting game nonetheless. We've both gone with a draw, so it will be interesting to see what happens in that game as well. Next up, we also have Brighton and Spurs. I've gone with a 1-1 draw because I think Brighton is just that kind of team that can make it tough for like the big six teams. You've gone with a 2-1 Spurs win, which I can also see happening. Next up, we have Burnley against Nottingham Forest. I've once again gone with a 1-1 draw because I think both teams are just like, I don't know. It's hard to judge really. I don't really know what to make of Nottingham Forest with Ange Postecoglou in charge now. First game against Arsenal, they were always going to lose anyways. Now they went out in the cup, so we'll see how they cope against Burnley, who have been pretty good at home. Like the newly promoted teams have been pretty solid at home. So yeah, that's how I'm going with a draw. You're going with a 2-1 Nottingham Forest win. West Ham against Palace, that's where I've gone with a 2-1 Palace win, and you're going with a 1-1 draw. Wolves against Leeds, we both think this will be a low-scoring affair. Two teams that really struggle to score. We've seen a lot of clean sheets this season, and I can see two more coming in this game with 0-0. You have 1-0 for Wolves, them getting their first points this season, with Leeds playing away from home, which is probably why. And then we have Man United Chelsea, and we are in agreement here. We both have a 3-1 win for Chelsea. It just seems like the natural result for me. Like Chelsea are really good in terms of scoring goals going forward, especially now with Palmer coming back. They're going to be able to score some goals. And Man United are really bad defensively, but then again, Man United have enough firepower to score in any game really. They could have scored against City as well. Like they had a couple chances towards the end there with Mbeumo especially, with both a really nice shot where Donnarumma made an outstanding save, and also another chance where Diallo just struck it right into the foot of Mbeumo. He couldn't put it into the goal. And also another chance where Fernandes shot it and Casemiro could have steered it into the goal, but he just missed wide. So yeah, I could see Man United goal, and then Chelsea just still dominating them most of the match or winning the match quite easily. But what do you think of the match? And more specifically, like how do you look at these two teams currently as it stands? Because there were a lot of question marks around, especially Man United before the season, but also Chelsea. Like if Chelsea could push up and be a contender next to like the likes of Man City, Arsenal, and Liverpool towards the top of the table. So what do you think of Chelsea, and what do you think like in terms of them being like a title contender, and what do you think of Man United and their situation with Amorim currently? Are you Amorim out, Amorim in? Like let me know what you think about these two teams and how you think this game plays out really.
I think the issue with Amarim is that he's extremely stubborn. So I think his biggest sort of issue and the biggest sort of, yeah, I mean, because I rated him as a manager, especially at Sporting. I saw what he was capable of. I see sort of the genius behind him. But at United, it's clearly not worked, and he's still so stubborn that he has to play his formation of the 3-5-2, which is clearly not working.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think I'm hammering him out, to be honest, because it's I don't like seeing managers who are not willing to adapt,
Yeah.
and he's not looking like he's willing to adapt. I think a different manager with the same crop of players could do the business because they
Yeah.
have such incredible offensive talent.
Yeah.
Brian Mbuemo, I mean Cunha, you have Benjamin Tesco as the streets have been calling him. Like Sesko's great, Cunha's great, Mbuemo's great. Then you have Bruno Fernandes, who should not be playing as a CDM.
Yeah.
Complete waste of his talents.
Kobe Mainu,
You
Amad
you have Kobe
Diallo,
Mainoo, you have Diallo, you have Ugarte.
Dorgu at
Like
fullback.
they have Lenioro. Like they have all these
Yeah.
sort of foundations there for a great team
They
that
have a
should
strong
be
squad now.
a top six side.
For
That's
sure.
simple as right with the wage structure, with the stadium, with the fandom. They should be a top six side. They are considered a top six club, right? So you gotta start showing it. You can't be winning shittily against Burnley and then just being turned over by every other club. So, in my opinion, Amorim out
Yeah.
sadly, and I still think he's a good manager and will probably recover from
Yeah.
this in that regard. So, I mean, David Moyes did. A lot of managers will and can do better than what their performances have shown at Man United. But yeah, clearly there's a disconnect there. Clearly the fans are very disjointed about him, and clearly the players have lost. He's lost the locker room, in my opinion. I would be very surprised if there are many players who will still die for him in that regard. So,
Yeah.
yeah, hopefully Chelsea beat the snot out of them, and Man United get a different coach. But if you were like me, enjoying the banter era, let's continue. May it long continue. May Amarim continue as long as that one guy's hair just continues growing.
Yeah.
They're not going to win 5 in a row. Great, continue having Amarim. But if I was a Man United fan, and trust me, I've been in this position before with coaches I've disliked, Marco Silva at Everton,
Valverde at Barcelona.
I didn't hate Valverde. My issue with Valverde was more his European exploits, which weren't great, because there were some embarrassing exits and etc. Who was I really like? Oh, I don't like that. I mean, Kike Setien. Jesus Christ, that was not an experiment worth
That's
doing.
the one you clamored for when you had Valverde.
Yeah, did not work out.
Careful what you wish for, as they said for West Ham before.
Yeah, but I also wished for Hansi Flick, and that worked out great.
Yes,
So,
he's been amazing.
so yeah, as someone who's experienced just shitty managers in their lifetime, I can completely see Man United's perspective and a fan's perspective of not liking Amarim, and fair enough. I think with the crop of talent, you got to do more. And yeah, I think if people are super harsh on Mikel Arteta and everything that he's doing, then he should be even more harsh on Man United. So yeah, Amarim out.
Fair. And then in regards to Chelsea, do you think they will be title contenders this
Maresca
season?
out.
Maresca out as well. So you think
I've been Maresca out for his treatment of my Breda, one of my favorite ballers for a team that doesn't play for me, Christopher Nkunku. Man, fuck Maresca, man. I think he's dog shit because of what he did to Nkunku. Do I think he did a good job last season? Yes. Do I also think that Chelsea need a Van Dijk or like a leading center? But they should have just gone all in for Marquinhos. If you can spend 60 million on like every single player in every position, you might as well fork over the money for
not old players.
One.
Though.
Yeah, but
they only buy young players.
Yeah, I understand. He does the Moneyball sort of thing. Screw all that. Even in Moneyball, they went for some older players and stuff. So go for one experienced center back, because Colville's injured as well.
Thiago Silva 2.0.
Yeah, 100%. How did that work out for them? Oh wait, they won the Champions League. So yes, just get Marquinhos and get one just experienced center back, and maybe get a different goalkeeper, because you need for Chelsea's of the world to get, you need a Mendy, Peter Cech to win the title. So fuck it, he was amazing in
that campaign, but in general, not an amazing goalkeeper.
Who cares? He was still better than Sanchez.
He was sick at that time, yeah. I was sold.
So, in my opinion, I think Chelsea's aspirations of being one of the clubs going for the title, 100%. They are, right now, crazily enough, the third best team in England, in my opinion, because I think...
Behind?
Fourth best team.
Okay. Fair.
Fourth best team.
Fourth
fair
best
enough.
team. Thank you.
I'm not going to throw Arsenal into the bus like that.
Arsenal. Wow.
Yes, you're like, ooh, consistent. They're showing so much progression from second to second, but
they've been the best team in the Premier League the last 3 years combined. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, and shown what exactly for it? Nothing.
Yeah, been fantastic. Yeah, that's more predictive of future success than
fine.
Being
but
good one.
Do they have the thing that they've wanted since 2003? Was it 3? Yeah.
Yeah, a title contending team, yeah, for sure.
But have they won it? They have, like, this.
They're going to.
They have to win it this year, or like
they have like the best squad in terms of like entering.
They
the
have
prime.
to win some. They definitely have to win something this year.
Pep is almost done at City. Van Dijk and Salah almost done at Liverpool. All the young
Yes,
players at
and
Arsenal
then
are getting into their prime.
instead they get Wirtz and Isak, who are probably going to end up
Works
going
fantastic so
crazy.
far. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Eh,
mean, what? Just because he's
he is
not
amazing,
played
of
well in
course. I'm just
four
kidding.
games,
I'm just messing around.
Arsenal need to win
Well,
something
Bundesliga
this year.
tax, he's
But
not Premier League proven, but yeah.
besides the point, do I think Maresca sucks? Yes. Do I think Chelsea are a top four club? Yes. Do I think
But
that they
top three
could potentially,
title contenders. That's what I'm asking.
potentially,
Potentially, but I
yes.
want definitive answers here.
No,
No,
I don't think they're good enough to be better than City, Arsenal, or
Liverpool.
Man United. Okay, obviously Liverpool. So no, I don't think they're better than any one of those three unless any one of those threes does the Leicester year where everyone just gets injured. Aguero's injured, that player's injured, that player's injured. It would require that level of injuries for Chelsea to win the league because
Hmm.
defensively they're still shocking.
Yeah, fair enough. We both have the same
If you have
result there.
title aspirations, you keep you convert that 85th minute goal from Caicedo into a win. You
Yeah,
don't just concede it.
definitely.
And in the stupid fashion that they did. It's not
Yeah,
even that they conceded like a brilliant goal. It was just really poor
throw in.
defending. So
I mean,
yeah,
Brentford are throw in masters. They score a lot
of
of goals from
course.
throw-ins. So
And you can see that Thomas Frank is clearly taking that with him to Spurs. But yeah,
yeah.
it's fair.
Yes, next game, Fulham against Brentford. I have a 2-0 win for Fulham. I just think they're a better team than Brentford and playing at home. But you have 2-2 in that game. It is a West London derby after all, so we'll be interesting to see what happens in that game. Bournemouth against Newcastle. We both have a Bournemouth win. I have a 2-1 win for Bournemouth. You have a 3-2 win for Bournemouth over Newcastle. I think this is also kind of just because Newcastle are playing Barcelona now Thursday. I think that's going to be tough for Newcastle to turn around from Barcelona to Bournemouth and still be able to get a good result. But we'll see what happens there. We both think it's going to be a pretty high-scoring game, which is interesting in terms of Newcastle because they haven't really conceded that many goals so far this season, but they've also faced pretty easy teams to play against, apart from Liverpool, of course, but they did concede 3 times against Liverpool, so we'll see. Sunderland against Aston Villa, the opposite, a very low-scoring game, 2 really bad teams in terms of scoring goals, so I have 0-0. You have Aston Villa getting their first few points here, first win, I should say, with a 1-0 win away to Sunderland, and yeah, you have lost faith in the newly promoted sides, I guess, because you have all of them losing this game week. Next up, we don't have any newly promoted sides. We have 2 of the title contenders, Arsenal against Man City. And we, of course, as always, when it comes to Arsenal versus Man City, I always go for Arsenal, you always go for Man City. It's starting to turn into my side now. Arsenal beat them 5-1 handedly last season. Also drew them 2-2, where Arsenal really should have beaten them easily, but they got that red card for Trossard stupidly and wrongly, I would think. Before the half, and it ended up being 2-2 with a late goal from Ruben Diaz in that game. But I've gone with a 3-1 win for Arsenal. You're going with a 2-1 win for Man City away at the Emirates. 2 goals against Arsenal there. It's going to be tough, but they do have Haaland, so I could see that happening, of course. But yeah, for me, I just have a lot of faith in Arsenal. They have so many good players in general. They are lacking Saka and maybe Ødegaard for this game as well, because he didn't play in the Champions League. But they do have new players coming in now who look fantastic. Eze, especially Madueke, has looked actually really good so far this season, even though he is a candidate for the 007 thing, where it's 0 goals, 0 assists. But in terms of just what he's done on the pitch, he's actually been really good and really threatening and should have had an assist by now, I think. Yeah, I go with an Arsenal win. You go with a Man City win. And why is that, Kevin? What can you see in this game away at Arsenal? I can see why you would go for City overall this season to get ahead of Arsenal in the table, but considering Arsenal's record in these Big Six sides, Big Six matches, and also the record recently against Man City, what do you see differently for Man City in this game that will make them beat Arsenal 2-1?
I just think Arsenal have clearly gone it right with their defense, which has looked really, really good. But I think arguably what has looked just as good as that is Erling Haaland. And I
Yeah.
think that's what's going to be the difference, especially if they get going in the Napoli game as well. Yes, Arsenal won pretty handedly against a Bilbao team that, let's
Mm.
be honest, we're always going to lose that game. And I think for me, the thing that's just showing me a little bit of that edge or, why I think it could potentially happen is, yeah, just the form of Erling Haaland. He looks great. Guardiola looked great. Donnarumma looks great. Um, and yeah, I think the thing about Arsenal to to win this game specifically, Gyökeres has to look much better than he does, and I think Gyökeres is great. I think it's mainly down to the preseason bullshit that he couldn't force the move earlier because Sporting wanted to play hardball as if they had a say in everything. So for me, that's why I sort of give City the edge because I think that's what my score basically is. 2 goals for Haaland, 1 goal for Gyökeres. I think that's
Yeah.
what's actually going to play out. So that's why I think that's what potentially is going to happen in my sort of prediction of things.
Yeah.
I don't think that Arsenal can't win. I don't think that your scoreline is that unrealistic either, because I also think that defensively, City have looked a little bit up and down. But
Yeah.
Donnarumma looked
Yeah. He's
spectacular
amazing.
for a
He's a
guy who
huge
barely
plus.
speaks any English. Clearly commanded his back line very well and did
Yeah.
some great saves.
Yeah.
Saves that I think Ederson would have probably conceded
Yeah.
because he
Most
can't
likely.
do those like crazy outstretched saves that Donnarumma is capable of. I am someone who is very wary of Donnarumma, generally speaking, because I've seen how lackadaisical he can be when it comes to just commanding the goal. Like he can do some crazy haulers too, but he's clearly matured, and it's crazy to think he's only like 26. Like he's
Yeah.
been
He's
around for
been in the game
that long
forever. Yeah.
because he made his debut when he was 16 years old. We're
Yeah.
gonna say the same
10
thing about
years ago.
Lamine Yamal after he's won like 4 Ballon d'Ors. We're gonna be like, oh yeah, shit, the kid's only 25. Like what the fuck?
Yeah.
So, um, so I think it's just one of those things where I also think the 5-1 came at probably City's like at the cusp of them just completely falling
Yeah.
downhill. They're looking much better this year. Yes, they lost to
They are.
Brighton. Yes, they lost to like they've lost to Spurs and they've had some random losses here and there, but I still think they're capable of more. Rodri's back. Foden is looking good too, and I think that's the main thing. Getting those two back to full speed on top of Haaland, who's looked fantastic in my opinion. Then you have Reinders as well. It's clicking really well. Whilst I think Arsenal defensively have looked spectacular, I think that's been their best aspect in my opinion. Their
Yeah.
defense have been the best in the league, right?
Yeah. Consistent has been
Their
for the last few years as well.
midfield, a little bit up and down. I think Declan Rice has looked great. I think Odegaard is capable of more than what he's shown. I think Eze looks
Subimendi.
great now. He's starting to come to his own a little bit now as well. And Gyökeres has been pretty good.
Yeah.
He hasn't been great, but he has been good.
Yeah.
But that's where I think that is my little caveat with it. I think their defense is amazing. I think it's probably the best thing. I think their defense is amazing. I think Holland's been amazing. So I feel like those two things cancel each other out, right?
Yeah.
But I do think in the midfield, I have actually been more impressed with City than I have with Arsenal, which is, I understand, can seem a little bit weird
Rodri.
considering the fact that um, Arsenal have been the better side out of the two, right? And are playing at home. But I still think that Rodri changes so much. Like he was basically when I told a friend of ours, Remy, you guys are Van Persie injury away from being in trouble, and that's exactly what happened. Van P went out for the season, and then Man United's whole season went downhill. Same thing when Rodri got injured. He's a Ballon d'Or winner for a reason, and he has looked like a Ballon d'Or worthy player again. Like it's been a joy to watch him play, and yeah, it'll be interesting if Declan Rice can neutralize him and all this type of stuff. Then of course, 3-1 isn't impossible.
Yeah.
But I think that's the fun thing. I think neither are actually out of the realms of possibility. City could easily win this. It seems like it's a cop out answer, but
Yeah.
genuinely, for comparatively to last year, where yeah, I think it was actually a bit more clear that Arsenal were gonna beat City. I feel like this time around it feels a little bit more even.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything can happen in this game. I think that's the interesting part. And I think like you mentioned, Rodri being back, Donnarumma now coming into the team. I think those are the two biggest differences from when Arsenal beat them 5-1 last season. But it was kind of incorrect what you said earlier with Arsenal meeting them at the perfect time, because 4 out of 5 previous games before they faced Arsenal, City actually won. They beat Ipswich 6-0, beat Chelsea 3-1, and then they lost 5-1 against Arsenal. And then they beat Newcastle 4-0 after that again. So they were actually in pretty good form, and Arsenal just decimated them in that game. But yeah, that's what happens sometimes, I guess. And Arsenal have shown to be a really good team in certain occasions, of course, as well. So yeah, interesting game for sure. Those are all the games for this game week. Let's see what happens with the predictions and what is right, what is wrong. Let's move on to the fixture ticker, looking a bit more into the future for all these teams and yeah, which teams to target really. And I think like the main thing, first and foremost, like game week 5, a lot of the like lesser teams in the league are facing each other really. There's not really any like super standout fixtures. I think game week 5 is an interesting game week in general because not really many huge games. One of the reasons is, of course, like I just mentioned, Arsenal against Man City. They two cancel each other out. Neither team is like interesting in FPL terms for this game week. Man United, Chelsea, I mean, we mentioned that game as well, and that's more easy for Chelsea, I guess, because Man United aren't looking as good currently. But other than that, it's just like Wolves against Leeds. You have Forest against Burnley. Brentford against Fulham even as well. It's like a tough game to predict. Palace against West Ham, kind of more so as well. Sunderland against Aston Villa, sort of similarly level teams playing against each other. So I think game week 5 is a bit of an awkward game week, and I think like we're going to see with our teams as well, like just saving your transfer and just waiting for game week 6, which is a way more explosive game week, is like probably the right move mostly. But yeah, I've done a bit of a change to the fixture ticker as well. I've added the team ranking where I basically ranked the teams from 1 through 20 out of how I see them currently. We can look at that now as well. Based on the rankings, I have Liverpool as the best team currently in the Premier League just because they just keep winning and they do have the best, like they are the reigning champions for a reason. Arsenal, City, really close between them, of course, but I have them second and third. Chelsea fourth. I think that is pretty self-explanatory. Spurs have looked like the best team outside of those guys, I feel like, and they just have like the best squad, the pedigree, everything like that. Bournemouth, Everton have both looked fantastic so far. Newcastle really solid right after that. Palace have been pretty good. Brighton and Fulham are like this mid-table. Both these teams are just consistently there. Man United, it seems like a pretty good team to target, I think. So I could have them lower in that regard, but I also think they have the most talent out of the rest of the teams to easily be higher as well. Like they have more talent than Brighton, for example, or Fulham for that matter, in their squad. Aston Villa, still tough to know what to see from them. They've actually been, like, if you look at the expected goals conceded, they've actually should have conceded a lot more goals than they have been so far. And expected goals, they've been the second worst team. So there's a second worst team in terms of expected goals conceded, and there's also the second worst team in terms of expected goals for the first 4 game weeks of the season, which is really, really bad. But they have enough firepower, Aston Villa, in their squad. Watkins, Rodgers, they have so many good players, and they have Emery, who is supposedly a good manager, but now they're struggling. So I just want to talk a little bit about Aston Villa, actually. Like, what do you think of them? Like, now they have these fixtures: Sunderland, Fulham at home, Burnley at home. What do you say to people that have both Rodgers and Watkins? Like, what should you do in that instance? Should you sell both? Should you sell one? Should you keep both? Like, how do you view Aston Villa and their assets for the next 3 game weeks, specifically Sunderland away, Fulham at home, Burnley at home? Is that worth it to keep them, or yeah, what do you think? It is Sunderland at the Stadium of Light. That's pretty difficult. Fulham are a pretty good team defensively. Burnley is like the prime fixture, but that's in game week 7. You have to wait for 2 more game weeks to get them there, and they've just blanked every single game week so far. So what do you make of Watkins and Rodgers specifically as assets? Would you keep them, or would you just get rid?
I mean, at this point, it's difficult to say because I'm so grateful that I've had neither and it's worked out as amazingly as it has, right? But that is exactly why it's also bullshit, because they could have easily have punished all of us all the fucking time. So it's been really this happens every year where like a team has really easy fixtures, you target them, and for one reason or another, they just don't get it to click. And
Yeah.
I think it's been really unlucky, to be honest. So do I think Sutherland and Fulham, like in the sense that no one expected them to underachieve as hard as they have,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like we would have expected them to have at least scored a goal by game week 5. To say, if you had told me before the season that it was until game week 5, let's say it is next week that they finally score a goal, I'm gonna be like, what the hell are you talking about? Like having seen the first couple to begin with. So I think it is a bit of a hold, to be honest, because I think their matches going forward after that, easy peasy. So if you can notice that you're not going to lose too much value on some of their attacking assets, keep him, because I think they could easily get things going again. Otherwise, Emery's getting fired, man. Like what? Like there is no. I have no. Yeah, I have no doubt that they can get this going again. But I also might be sabotaging for managers because I want this to continue being bad. So take what I'm saying with a pinch of salt, and also because I don't like Aston Villa because Everton should be Aston Villa because considering we're similar sort of clubs who should be having similar sort of success, but you guys have been a bit more successful than us lately, but not currently because fuck you. But
true.
I do think I do think you should keep. I think these are good enough fixtures for them to get going again
Okay.
because otherwise it's gonna be riots in the West Midlands. So I think, especially that Burnley game, my God, I'm
Yeah,
considering getting rid of Gyökeres myself for that game. That is a lie because they're playing
just
West Ham at
one game.
home. Just kidding.
Yeah,
But all things considered, if you have a double up, maybe considering the double up means that you're spending 16 million on players, maybe just maybe get rid of one of them over the other, right?
yeah,
Because there are viable strikers and midfielders. Like if you don't have Semenyo because you have Rogers, if you don't have, a
replacement.
Pedro or Gyökeres or anything like that because of Watkins, you would be hitting yourself for all those reasons. So if you can free you up space to get one of these aforementioned players, then absolutely sell. If not, then just stick with what you got. If you already have some of these other players and you for some reason have these guys as extra because you didn't go the floor and Verts route or you don't have a TK or something like that, then go for it. You have nothing to lose. But if you don't have the right coverage, sell, 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 sell.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. I think for me, if I had both, I probably would get rid of one of them. Maybe both. It just depends how they look. I wouldn't sell. Probably wouldn't sell either this game week. I feel like it's just a good game week to save a transfer, just because there aren't that many good players to target really. Maybe Semenyo. If you don't have Semenyo, I would do Rogers to Semenyo probably. But other than that, I don't really see many that interesting transfers. Game week 6, I think it's easier to, if you want Haaland for sure in game week 6, if you don't have Haaland already, Watkins to Haaland and just funding the move elsewhere is also a good idea. So yeah, it just depends. Like this is what the lighting is terrible for me now. It keeps going out. But anyways, as I try to fix the light, what I usually say when it comes to like sacking managers, I'm always saying, who are you bringing in? Like who is the next one in line? That's the more important thing that you need to answer with these questions. I don't think it's like a priority to sell either Watkins or Rogers, but I would easily do it if I had a good replacement lined up. I would, yeah, like Semenyo for example. That's what I wish I would have done last game week actually when I sold Palmer, which is now looking really bad because I want Palmer back into my team again. I could have just sold Rogers and still had Palmer, so I'm regretting that myself. So I think it's more about who you're bringing in rather than trying to just get rid of them to just get rid of them basically. But I would probably look to sell Rodgers, especially if you can get Semenyo now, if I had the chance, really. But yeah, now I'm finally going to get my light working in, hopefully. But either way, that was Aston Villa. I also, since Aston Villa played against Everton, I also wanted to talk a little bit about Everton, which is your favorite team as well. Now it's against Liverpool, so of course don't buy any Everton players now, but what do you feel about the Everton assets in terms of Dewsbury Hall, Grealish, and Ndiaye, like the attacking assets? How would you rate them compared to each other? Like, who would be our priority if you were starting in game week 6, for example, with a wildcard? Would you double up on Everton attackers potentially? Would you go with Tarkowski on top of one of these guys? Like, how do you feel about Everton and their assets, but specifically those three like attacking assets? How do you rank them, and any other Everton players we should potentially consider from Game Week 6 onwards as well?
With the issue with Everton players are that they're very there's no one standout. I guess NDI is a bit of a standout because he's on penalties as well, and
Yeah.
he just looks great offensively. Like he's such a silky dribbler, really good offensively, and yeah, he's just fun to watch. I think Grealish has shown he's a little bit assist heavy in that regards. Like his shooting is a little bit inconsistent. Will he get that going again? Absolutely. And then you got Dewsbury Hall, who's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Should get more assists, should get more goals, but is unlucky to get either. So I would probably rank it NDI, Grealish, and then Dewsbury Hall.
Okay.
But it also makes sense considering. But I also think Dewsbury Hall is higher than Grealish because he's 1.5 cheaper.
Yeah, because you have Dewsbury Hall, you wildcarded in Game Week 4, and
Yeah.
you chose Dewsbury Hall over the two others.
Yes, I did. And I slightly regret it because I love me some NDI. But the reason that I got Dewsbury Hall in is so I could also spend that 1.5 that I don't on a Juan Pedro, on a Gyökeres, and all these type of things because I still believe that he can match the other guys. I don't, or rather, he can match Grealish. I think NDI will run away with it in the end
probably.
because he's on penalties, because he can score with both feet. And yeah, he is just the more complete player in that regards. My Grealish super fans might start to come for me, but it's true. Like, and I think it's very much a luxury problem to have. I'm very grateful to have all three players at Everton, to the point where I feel starting to feel sorry for Dwight McNeil because he can't really get into the side anymore.
Yeah. Alcaraz as
because-
well.
Yeah,
Dibbling for
look-
that matter. So, like, there's so many good, like, the backups
there are good
really
assets. Yeah, we're finally looking like a proper squad for once. So,
Yeah.
I think in especially defensively, I wouldn't risk it right now because we're playing Liverpool, then we're playing, Crystal Palace, City, Spurs.
Yeah.
Those games don't look great. I mean, Crystal Palace we could potentially win against. West Ham, I think we can win against. Sunderland, I think we can win against. But like the other games look awful. Of course, it wouldn't be Everton if we didn't win 1-0 against Spurs. Like we are capable of
Yeah.
doing random shifts like that.
Oh, right.
But I think defensively speaking, we've looked shaky enough where I'd say hold off for now. Wait until the fixtures become even better
And
to go
Brentford's
for us
back.
defensively. But offensively, I think, it's fine to have an NDI, stash an NDI for those specific games that I mentioned. In a game where you have a Dewsbury Hall or NDI that you can bench for, I don't know, some other midfielder around the same price who has an easier game, then go for it. But I think, and I would say, Skilliman is probably the most fixture proof out of the three allotted. I think Tarkowski is just overall great. He is just a bullshit header away from like a 20-pointer because he's just that good.
Yeah, Tarkowski is someone that I would definitely consider myself. Also, I think like around Game Week 6-7, Brandwaite should be back, and that will help Tarkowski in terms of clean sheets
massively.
For sure. That's going to help.
Michael Keane sucks.
We've seen that the last like couple
Michael
seasons.
Keane
Like,
sucks.
yeah, we've seen because like before Brandwaite,
Michael Keane is awful.
when Brandwaite came back from his loan in the Eredivisie, he came back and took over the place from Michael Keane eventually that season. And Everton just turned from being like the last two seasons actually before this one. Everton started off the season like the first 8 fixtures like really badly defensively, and then they just turned it on completely and got a lot of clean sheets and looked really good. Both times it's really been Brandwaite just being consistently in the team rather than Michael Keane. And I think it's going to be history repeating itself once again, because once again Everton have looked kind of shaky defensively, have gotten 2 clean sheets out of 4 still against Brighton and Aston Villa, but once Brandwaite is back, I think it's just going to be really good defensively, and that's where I'm looking to potentially get Tarkowski myself. So I think he's on a wildcard in Game Week 6. I would probably look at him, and NDI looking good, but for me, I think I would slightly more lean more towards Dewsbury Hall just because he is a bit cheaper, and I don't think Everton's matches are that good. From Game Week 6 onwards, they're not the worst. Like West Ham at home, Palace at home, that's nice. City away is obviously tough. Spurs at home is also tough, but like you could get a result there at Hill Dickinson, we'll see. And then Sunderland Game Week 10. Like those 5 fixtures aren't the worst, but they're not really that good either. So I would prefer to have someone like Dewsbury Hall who I can just bench against City, bench against Spurs, and potentially bench against Palace depending on who you have in the squad. But then you can play him against West Ham and Sunderland and really attack those fixtures. So I'm more comfortable with benching a 5.0 player than benching someone at 6.5, because at that point you'll have so much money, so much value tied up into your bench on players you're not going to use. So I feel like that's just a waste of money. But Dewsbury Hall with his price is the most enticing for me, even though I think Ndiaye is going to be the better pick eventually. But yeah, that's basically from like game week 18 onwards. I think Everton have like a amazing set of fixtures. So that's what I'm looking for Everton players, which is pretty far into the future. That's around New Year's. Where they have Burnley away, Nottingham Forest away, Brentford at home, Wolves at home, Aston Villa away, Leeds at home. Like these are amazing fixtures, especially if Aston Villa still are as bad or Nottingham Forest are still as bad. Like those are like 6 prime fixtures in a row. That's the point where I'm looking to potentially double up with Grealish and Ndiaye, for example. But for now, I'm probably content with just one. Maybe Ndiaye, maybe Dewsbury Hall, maybe even Grealish. Like, they're all looking good. Depending on what you look for in an FPL asset and what you look for in terms of entertainment value. But yeah, for me now, it's Dewsbury Hall as my main guy from the midfielders who I'm looking to get potentially myself to save some money. I could go from Rodgers to him, actually. Speaking of those two teams and those two players, that could be a move that I do once the fixtures run out for Rodgers, because I currently have Rodgers myself and I'm probably just going to keep him. Like I said, he's not a priority transfer out. But if I have someone that I want in that position that looks really good for around that same price, I could definitely sell him as well. There are going to be a lot of good midfielders from Game Week 6 also, like Mbeumo, Foden, Eze could be good. Like there's so many good midfielders, Ndiaye for that matter. So yeah, look into that for sure. Speaking of a lot of players and wildcards though, let's take a look at the weekly wildcard draft for Game Week 5 that I created previously in this week, posted on the YouTube channel. So if you want the in-depth look at all these players and why I selected them, you can check out that video. Like I mentioned, Dewsbury Hall is my preferred candidate from the Everton midfielders. I have him in midfield. I have him as my 8th pick, actually. I feel pretty good about him. I just feel a bit more confident now after Everton played against Aston Villa and did 2 subs really the whole game. Have 5 subs available. Use only 2 of them. Alcaraz stayed on the bench. Dibbling stayed on the bench. And that just made me way more secure of Dewsbury Hall just playing pretty much every single game, because Everton are not in Europe. He's going to be able to play most matches, and I think he's going to play most matches as the number 10 now. So I think he's going to be amazing value at 5.0 for this season, really. Other than that, like the main issue that I had, I made this before Salah really turned it on in the Champions League. I was being like a bit hesitant when it comes to Salah, but the reason that I kept him in was the fact that I think Everton at home is still probably the best captaincy pick for this game week. I don't feel like there's any other like standout picks, especially from the players that I've selected. Joe Pedro, potentially, he could be the best captaincy option actually against Man United away. But yeah, I feel like just keeping Salah for one more game week and then seeing what happens in Game Week 6 when we get those really good midfield options. I could potentially move him on and get someone else in that position and use that money to upgrade Mateta to someone like Gyökeres, for example, or Isak eventually if he starts playing. That could be the option here, but yeah, just made 4 changes since last time. Basically just downgraded Ndiaye to Dewsbury Hall to make more money up, to bring in the likes of Romero, Gabriel into the squad, basically. So that's what I've done since last time. So just a quick check. How many players do you have in your team? Dubravka, Senesi, Goodmanson, Semenyo, Reinders, Dewsbury Hall, Salah. Yeah, King as well. You have the whole midfield. I think you do actually, right?
Yeah.
This is your midfield. Yeah. Haaland, Joe Pedro. So you have 10 out of these 15 players in your own wildcard team. So you must like it quite a bit. But what do you think about this wildcard team compared to your own team? Is this like something that you're looking for? You also like, I have Romero here. You have Pedro Porro. It's pretty similar. Vicario, you mentioned as someone you would potentially have rather than Sanchez. So what do you think about the team? And what do you think about like the whole, you already made your case clear about Salah and you want to keep him. Mateta as well. I made this before the comments from Glasner about him potentially being rested now. What do you think about that third striker spot actually? Like, there's not enough money. I think maybe there is actually enough money here to get Gyökeres. I'm not sure. But assuming there's no money to get Gyökeres, like what would you do with that final spot? Would you just have Mateta for the game and hope that he starts, or would you just
He's
buy
1
someone
million.
else?
I think he's 1,000,000% going to start
Yeah,
because they need to get him going. So
yeah,
I don't. I think it with a pinch of salt.
yeah. So you think Mateta's the
Um,
best third striker option here behind Haaland and Joao Pedro, or if
no,
you?
it should obviously be Calvert-Lewin. But if I were to pick a striker besides him, obviously I think a good choice if you're looking for like same price as Evan Nelson. I
Yeah,
think,
double up
but
on
you
Bournemouth.
wouldn't you wouldn't triple up on Bournemouth rather.
Yeah,
So a bit crazy. I still think Richarlison should be getting more minutes. Like I think
yeah.
the West Ham thing was more so he could be fit for the Champions
Champions
League
League.
game, but hilariously, I thought he needed that West Ham game to be look even sharper, and maybe could have even had a penalty in the game against Villarreal. But yeah, I think Richarlison's always a good shout.
Yeah, played
I am
77
completely,
minutes against Villarreal.
yeah,
That's always a good sign,
I
I think.
am, yeah. I also don't like the look of Wood anymore,
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I am regretting having him in draft. Obviously, my end does. I think someone you could have considered, considering like yeah, the fixtures aren't amazing, but they have a bunch of home games. Is Nick Woltemade? I think he could be a really
Yeah,
interesting shout and
always says
a
out.
little bit of a sneaky differential. Yes, he's a bit um, what's the word? He's not really match fit because I don't think he played 90. I think he only played like 64 minutes or something
Yeah,
in the previous game, but he could be a sneaky little pick, especially with Bussa out.
it's tough
And
fixtures though. Bournemouth away, Arsenal at home, Nottingham Forest at home, Brighton away. Okay, Fulham at home. It's just the fixtures that
yeah,
makes me not sold on him really.
yes, but you constantly also don't seem to give them credit when they play at St. James Park.
They beat Wolves 1-0.
Yes,
Congrats.
but yeah, I mean everyone's beating
Win is a
Wolves, so
win.
it's the win's a win, and at the end of the day, he scored. So,
He did.
and I think,
A header. He scored only
uh,
one header last season, which is kind of crazy
yeah, because they
for
know
his
how tall
height.
he is,
Yeah.
and I also think that Bournemouth aren't the craziest in terms of
Yeah. Could score.
defending.
Could score for sure.
Ar Arsenal at home, I think he can score. Also think
Yeah.
Nottingham Forest at home they could beat, and then Brighton,
Forest is good.
Fulham,
Forest.
yeah.
Forest is a nice fixture.
And I think even Fulham's good
Brighton,
because it's at St.
Fulham.
James Park. You
Yeah.
you say like, but they scored twice against Liverpool without a striker.
That's a crazy game though. Like they were super fired up for that game.
Sure, but
And
that's what
without
I
a
mean. I
striker,
think they're
Osula scored a really nice goal in that game as the striker.
fine eventually because he didn't start the game,
Yeah, but
did
he
he?
scored.
So sure, and yeah, they're much better at home than you're giving
Also,
them credit for.
they're getting Gordon back. Like that's a bit of an
Yes.
underrated thing. Like he's going to be a pretty good asset in general. I think. Like he's someone you could
Yeah.
target for Nottingham Forest game, for example. Like he is. He's on
Sure.
penalties now as well with Isak gone. So he's going to be a great asset that no one's talking about because he had that stupid challenge against Liverpool.
They have Barnes, they have Alanga, they have some interesting little players
Murphy,
there.
Jacob
Like
Murphy.
that's yes, of course. And
He's
I
good this past game
again,
week.
I think again they're a very good home side,
Yeah.
and they're facing these teams at home. So that's why I think they're a bit of a sneaky pick than people think. Defensively, different story. I think they're a bit shaky there,
What?
but
So far, they've been way better defensively than offensively.
I know, but like I don't trust them
Why?
defensively. I think they've been more fluky defensively than they have been attacking wise.
Why? They have like a consistent defense every single season.
Yes,
Livramento,
but
Fabian Burn, they played there for several seasons. They've been solid.
yeah, of course.
I mean, I
Of
know you
course
don't
these
rate
guys
Malik
are
Tial, but he's not even starting.
I don't rate Nick Pope
Uh,
at all. Like I think he's completely lost it.
26
He
points in
went from
FPL though. He's been a good pick so far.
yeah, because
3
Newcastle
clean
have been pretty
sheets.
good. Newcastle have been good defensively, but I think the bubble's about to burst with them defensively. But I also think they're good at home, so it is all correlated. So
Yeah.
Yeah, fine. But again, they've also played what, like Leeds, Wolves, and
Yeah,
Villa.
that's the thing you gotta
So
remember.
yeah,
Leeds, Wolves, and
sure.
Aston Villa, they are like the three worst teams for scoring goals in general. That's the
Yeah.
fixtures that you can see Spurs there having that. Wolves, Leeds, Aston Villa. That's why I've doubled up with Romero and Vicario for the wildcard draft. Really, those fixtures.
But that being said, yeah, yeah, I think Newcastle should get more of a look, just generally speaking, because they're better at home than people give them credit for. I'm also saying this just in case Barcelona somehow fuck up tomorrow.
Yeah, true. But that's in St James's Park as well. So
Yes,
I
I'm
get why
fully
you're
aware.
pumping them up at home as a really tough team to beat. So that makes sense.
So when Barcelona end up winning 5-0 and Ferran Torres gets a hat trick, I can be like, yeah, see, what
Yes,
an impressive win.
for sure. Yeah, otherwise the team looks good to you. 10 out of 15 players similar to
Very,
you.
very happy with it. Yeah, I think the players you omitted are good. We could maybe just fix Mateta because
Yeah, he was also the
he
pick
hasn't
before
looked
the
good.
comment. He's also just a
Yeah,
placeholder. I figured to start him this week. I think that's the reason I picked him. He has the best fixture for game week 5, specifically West Ham. He usually scores a lot of goals against West Ham, and then it's just bench him and then
dog
sell
shit
him.
club. Yeah, I
Use
agree.
the money that you get from, yeah, if you sell Salah or whatever.
Hmm.
Yeah, so he's just a placeholder really for now. You can also downgrade them to like if Stone Larson is back, he could be good.
Hmm.
Igor Thiago for Brentford has been pretty good for a cheap price. There are some options there you can go for instead. So yeah, he's just a placeholder really. Gyökeres, if you do have the money, it's also a nice pick. Yeah, that's pretty much the Walker drafts. Like I mentioned, you can view my video if you want to go in depth on all the picks and why I've selected them. But now we have actually gone for quite a while, and we have the plans still to go for the next upcoming game week. But luckily, I think the plans are pretty simple to talk through because like I mentioned a couple times already, not really many transfers worth making this week because we don't really have that many good fixtures to target that are good long term. But for you, I think the decision is bench boost or not bench boost. That is the question. For you, currently on your bench, you have Dubravka as the starting goalkeeper against Nottingham Forest at the bench. Josh King, who was subbed off before the hour mark this past game week, I got 1 point on my bench boost from him. I feel a bit less confident about him and playing time and stuff now. Juf against Palace at home could be probably going to be bad. And then Goodmanson against Wolves, which could very likely be a clean sheet. I think actually Goodmanson would be the one that I'm the closest to starting. I would have if I didn't bench boost, I would have like a decision between Reinders and Goodmanson just because Reinders is playing Arsenal away, really. But he's been so good lately, so that's a bit of a risk as well, seeing how attacking he was this past game week against Man United. Yeah, it's a bit of a risk there. So I do get the appeal to bench boost. It is, like I mentioned with this game week, a lot of teams that are similar in terms of level. So I think that works out the best for a bench boost week. So yeah, bench boost is probably the safest option where you don't really know who to bench. I think that's the best game weeks to bench boost in. So I would probably do that myself, but you could also just stand pat and do nothing and just wait and weigh up your options. But what is your thinking with that? And also with captaincy, you said either Semenyo or Salah. So I actually put the captaincy armband on Semenyo, playing against Newcastle at home. You said, and that backs up what you said now, that you don't think Newcastle are that good defensively as they are looking so far. So yeah, first and foremost, the captaincy choice, Semenyo, Salah, anyone else that sticks out potentially, Joao Pedro potentially against Man United would be another suggestion for me. Captaincy choice and bench boost decision, those are the two main things I want to know what your thinking is with your team currently.
Yeah, I think generally speaking, it's got to be one of those two. I could potentially do Haaland because I trust Haaland more than Yekis, to be honest. Because of Haaland's crazy form so far, especially if he goes nuts against Napoli as well. Holy shit, dude. It's going to be very easy to captain him. But of course, Arsenal playing at home, so I got to give credit where credit's due. They've looked like the best defense in the league, and potentially in Europe right now, which is very impressive. But considering their defensive core, holy shit, they have like Hincap who can't even play currently, so they're looking solid. But yeah, it's going to be a toss up between Salah and Semenyo. Could very easily be Salah in the end, just because there's a reason why he's double the price of Semenyo,
Yeah.
and
He looked really
also
good now as well.
he looked really good today.
Yeah.
He also just does tend to score quite a lot against us. So
Yeah.
yeah, and especially with Isak playing now as well defensively, we're going to be a bit of a mess because we're going to have to try and defend both. Not that Ekitike would have been a bad sort of thing, but
I
Isak
still
is
think
more
Ekitike starts,
used.
though.
Huh?
I still think Ekitike starts, judging from the comments from Slot that he's not ready to play twice in a row.
Maybe,
Or
and if that's
start.
the case, that's a lot better for Everton. So not to discredit Ekitike by any sense of the word, but more just I- Isak's Isak, right? At the end of the day. Um, so it's going to be between those two. It'll be very touch and go until the very end. So hopefully I end up picking the right guy like I did with my captain and vice captain last week. Um, but yeah, I like the looks of both. I'm kind of hoping Barcelona beat the snot out of Newcastle tomorrow to demoralize them so I can captain Semenyo as well. But yeah, if I have to captain Salah against my own team and jinx him, I happily will do so.
Yeah. So no thoughts of João Pedro as captain, Man United?
Not
We
currently,
have it
no. Just
3-1.
because of
Would you have done it
I
with Palmer
do,
if you had Palmer?
yes.
Yes?
I'm now more scared that Palmer might actually be able to neutralize Juan Pedro, which was not the case when
No.
before the injury.
I mean, so far João Pedro has scored just from like headers and set pieces, and that shouldn't really be affected by Palmer that much.
Of course not, but I also think that I just think that the touches will be way less now
Yeah.
again because of Palmer being there, and I just think Palmer's great. So I'm very
Yeah.
jealous for anyone who kept him or saw him being and doing really badly by still having him, or
Yeah.
just somehow been able to afford everything.
Yeah,
But
I should have kept
yeah,
him.
I think that's going to be the case. I'm gonna it's going to be a toss up between those two. I don't think Juan Pedro or potentially Holland. Holland looks more likely to me than Juan Pedro for some reason, and that's only because Holland's form is crazy right now.
Yeah,
Especially if he go
it is.
if he even gets a brace against Napoli, I'm like, yeah, that could maybe tip me towards having him because he's such a streaky player. People forget that some of his best runs was when he once got 9 goals in 3 consecutive matches because he got a hat trick every game. That included scoring a hat trick, scoring a hat trick, scoring a hat trick in the Manchester derby like 2 years ago, I think. So yeah,
Hmm.
Holland's crazy,
Yeah,
fucking machine,
still going to be in
made in a
Saliba's back
laboratory.
pocket, but yeah. Uh,
Sure,
Now, if
after
Saliba's
he
even back,
scored.
that's the thing. Mosquera's looked really good, though, but Saliba was on the bench against Athletic Bilbao, so I assume he's going to be ready for that match, but maybe not match fit to fix up Haaland. So, yeah, going to be an interesting game nonetheless. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see your captaincy choice. Bench boost, we haven't touched on that. How likely are you to bench boost versus not bench boosting? What do you feel about the bench boost chip in general? I made my thoughts about it pretty clear, but what are your thoughts on the bench boost chip and how to use it and when to use it? Like, do you worry about it much? Will you use transfers potentially to better it? Like, what is your thinking with bench boosts?
If I do bench boost, I could. Yeah, again, I'm really regretting not changing maybe Jif to um Anderson and having Vicario instead of Sanchez because I would have been able, I think I would have been able to afford both, and now I can
Yeah,
afford neither
same price.
because Jeff went down in price and Sanchez stayed the same, and
Yeah,
Vicario
Vicario
went
went
up
up.
in price. So
Yeah,
pretty annoying, but I don't like double ups. I've always keep saying it because it can backfire so hard when it does. So of course it looks great and you look like a scholar when it goes right, but I think there's smarter ways of doubling up in that regards. And I think defensively, it's unless they've looked really solid for a while, which Spurs, I guess, have. Yeah, it can be a bit tough. But if I'm going to bench boost, I could see a cheeky -4 in there.
Okay. Crazy stuff, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah, if it works out for your team in the long run, maybe. But I think your team is fine as it is. When it comes to transfers, I don't really see anything, especially with Joe being 4.4. You can't really get anyone else in for him. Goodman's 4.0. You can't really get anyone else in for him. King is 4.5. You can't really get anyone else in for him. So I think you're kind of just stuck with the bench that you do have at the cheapest possible price. And considering they are pretty cheap, I don't think the matches will be much better than this. So I think I would actually lean towards bench boost for you. The only other way would be potentially just benching Dewsbury Hall and Reinders in these tougher fixtures, but I do think they have enough going forward, especially with how they looked the last few game weeks and how offensive they looked in their teams. Yeah, I would probably just lean towards bench boosting and doing no transfers if I were you. Yeah, that's just my opinion on your team. Let's move on to Kimo's team and his plans. He has sort of the same type of dilemma with like bench boost or not. He has Dewsbury Hall on the bench actually, who you have starting. Reynaldo against Aston Villa at home. They haven't scored yet in the Premier League. And then Esteb and Dubravka against Nottingham Forest at home. Yeah, I think this is a decent bench boost also, actually. Despite Kimo having a bit of a struggling team currently, he has like a lot of like decent-ish options where it's tough to bench Peter Porro, for example, or something like that to make way for one of the bench guys. And I think the bench guys are like decent and could get points. So I think, again, with Kimo, like with your team, probably would lean towards bench boost here as well. But what do you think of his team in general? In terms of captaincy, I've just put it on Watkins because that's what it was. He plays Sunderland, so it could be a cheeky differential, but I think just going Salah is the safer, better move, most likely. Or Joao Pedro, who I do actually quite like as a captaincy pick as well this week. But what do you think for Kimo? Is he someone that should use bench boost potentially? Should use chips? Should use a different chip maybe? Should he already wildcard into the wildcard draft that I selected? What do you think Kimo should do this game week?
He should have free hit last week.
Yeah.
Dumbass. But currently the options listed are good. I don't hate the idea of a bench boost just to get rid of it because he doesn't seem like he'll ever use it otherwise. And considering the players that he has and the bench and everything like that, like, yeah, a bit of an own goal with Ronaldo versus Watkins there. But other than that, I think I'd also Chris Wood against Esteban Dubravka. Like,
yeah, that's the downside to bench boost. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's why I went against because I was considering potentially bench boosting in GW5, but I had the same problem. I had two attackers from Palace and West Ham, and I had two defenders from Palace and West Ham. So that's why I just decided to pull the trigger in GW4, and it didn't really work out. But yeah, that's actually a good point. Like, he has very little upside in this because he will have to hope for Watkins and Wood blanking for his bench boost to work out. And that would be.
And if that's the case, just stand pat. Your team sucks anyways. Maybe wildcard.
Fair. Yeah, so I have suggested a wildcard draft in case you want a wildcard, but I also think it's just not the best game to wildcard.
He's too stubborn. He's not going to listen to us.
Probably not. He's also in Egypt just relaxing and having fun now, so he's probably going to be not thinking about his team, so maybe standing pat, just relaxing and taking its time is probably the right remedy for now, I think. And also, like, the fixtures aren't that bad, especially for Game Week 5, where the fixtures aren't that good for anyone. Like, I feel like he can easily just...
His team was infinitely worse last week than it was this week.
Yeah.
But that's exactly why I said...
Free hit, yeah.
So, yeah.
Free hit last game week, yeah. Can't go back to the past, but we can look into the future. We also have the manager of the week. We have talked about free hit, and I think this is a manager that could really use a free hit, actually, because as you can see, 3 City players, Doku, Haaland, and Donnarumma against Arsenal away. Gabriel against City, like, they clash against each other. Away games for the Spurs guys against Brighton, not ideal either. He has triple Liverpool, which is good against Everton, but he has Ekitike is going to be subbed off for Isak. He's not going to play much more than 60 minutes anyway. Wirtz, who's not looked the best, he doesn't even have Salah in that game, and he doesn't really have like super good players across the board either. You could save the free hit; it could be more valuable eventually. Could also be double game weeks with Palace now going through in the League Cup. They could get like a postponement thing in game week 17 or 16, where the team that they're facing in the League Cup who will also get potentially a double game week. So maybe it's better to just save the free hit as well. But I think this is like a decent game week to get away from some really tough fixtures and get back to his team, which is really looking good, actually. Like, his team is looking super nice for the future, I think. Maybe not the Liverpool guys like Katika and Verts, but that's something you can't change for the next few game weeks with transfers. Especially with those 2.5 in the bank, you could always get Palmer permanently in Game Week 6 after free hitting him in for Game Week 5 and potentially captaining him in Game Week 5. Because that's the other thing. The other reason that I would free hit here is, again, I don't feel like the captaincy options are that good, especially without Salah, no Palmer. Those are like the two main captaincy options, I think, this week. So it would be either Haaland or Semenyo, like you mentioned. But I don't think they are as enticing as captaincy choices. So, what do you reckon? Do you think this is like a free hit type of team? Or do you think you should just stand pat and wait for a different game week?
I think his team is good enough to stand pat another week because there are better free hit weeks in that regards. But I do see a lot of the sort of clashes here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of teams against each other.
Arsenal
Not
City.
not the best sort of time to be facing each other either, and all this type of stuff. And like you said, Ekitike, like it could be a lot of fun in terms of there are other sides that he could be looking at. Spurs, a little bit more Spurs, a little bit more Chelsea, having Palmer in for that 1 week sort of thing instead of Verts, having, like a Bournemouth defender in Senesi, or maybe not Senesi, maybe keeping a Virgil. I don't know. Like, it's a tough one in that regards, but I think his team could survive because one of these guys are bound to haul and the rest might do okay. So you might end up with a score like of 60, 50, which isn't bad. You're not going to get 80 every week sort of thing.
Yeah.
And even a free hit, I don't think would reach those sort of figures, if that makes sense. So, but I do see the value in what you're saying because you have a lot of people facing each other. So
Yeah.
you can spread the wealth a little bit. I think you're fine without. I would look into maybe getting in Palmer.
Yeah.
Maybe just
Palmer is
doing
what
the
you
Palmer.
mentioned.
Yeah. If you can do that, then I'd say do it.
2.5
Pull
in the
the
bank
trigger.
is confirmed, and that's enough to go from Verts to Palmer. So it is definitely
Yeah.
an option there.
And I think that's maybe what you should do to spread the wealth a little bit. And but I do understand the frustration because Ekitike is maybe the more cuttable player here over
Yeah.
Verts, but like you said,
Most
there's
likely
more
gonna start.
likelihood of Ekitike. Yeah, then you can go with Palmer first, then see what to do with Ekitike after.
Yeah, that's fair. But also, if you do want to do a free hit manager of the week, Mohammed Abdur Rahman, I did make a free hit suggestion as well. This is my current free hit draft for Game Week 5. I haven't updated it since I made the video on Tuesday. I'm going to update it for the team section video on Friday, though. I'm going to have a fully updated free hit team for Game Week 5 because I do make a free hit team every single game week. But this is currently what I'm looking at. Tripling up on Chelsea against Man United. I feel like that's a decent way to go because, we both think that they were going to win 3-1. Kukurea is really good. Palmer's really good. Joao Pedro's really good. Fulham players against Brentford. I do really like your namesake, Kevin. He looked so good playing like 15 minutes this past game week. And I think he could potentially start against Brentford at home and be a really electric and fun player there. I've kept Semenyo. He's one of the few players, Semenyo and Van Dijk, I've kept. Salah's come in to be captain, but again, it could be Palmer or Joao Pedro. Mateta against West Ham, still imagine he starts. Gakpo, I think, has been the most secure for minutes for Liverpool. He got subbed off after around 70 minutes, which is what I think is the best that you're looking for in a Champions League fixture. For these types of like rotation-ish players, that they get rested a little bit, but they still start. And then in goal, I just gone really cheap with Darlow playing against Wolves at away. I feel like that's a decent fixture to target as well for clean sheets potentially. So yeah, this is my team. Like I mentioned in the video that I made about chips and chips usage in Game Week 5. It's not the most explosive week. That's like the main drawback for Game Week 5. You don't really have the team doesn't look that good for like a free hit team, but it is just a really tough game week to put out a good team regardless, as we've seen with the current plans for you guys. Even though you potentially using bench boost, that's just because all the players are like similarly level matches. but no one has like that like super standout fixture where you imagine that they're going to score like 3-4 goals. That's very hard to come by this game week, as you can see from these players that I've selected. Really, so yeah. Before we end the podcast, any comments about the free hit team? Any more thoughts about using the free hit or not after seeing this team? Does it look enticing to you, or is it just like, nah, wait for another game week?
Honestly, I think wait for another game week.
Yeah,
I think not the worst alternative, and I like a lot of these differentials and alternatives to the fact that he had so many players who are facing each other. But at the same time, I feel like next week, the week out, like there are other game. Of course, next week you should be triple captaining Haaland, so do not waste your opportunity.
yeah,
So yeah, but again, there are other game weeks which have kinder fixtures
yeah,
for all the top teams
yeah.
rather than facing each other. So that's the only thing that I can say about that. But in regards to the team itself, no, it's a good shout.
Yeah, fair
Just not
enough.
enough for me personally.
Yeah, you don't have those standout fixtures. That's like the main thing, but like it does fit in like the other criteria that I have for free hit usage, which is like getting first and foremost the captaincy pick, getting a captain that you didn't have already. I just didn't feel like there were that many good like captaincy choices for his team. You said Semenyo and Haaland are interesting. For me, Newcastle have been good so far defensively. Arsenal are amazing defensively. I don't feel like targeting those teams are the best. And you don't have that Salah figure either against Everton, so captaincy would be an issue for me. And also just having like a very different team. Like it's a completely different team that I've made here compared to what he has originally. And it's a nice bridge between two good game weeks. He had 100 points in game week 4. He's probably going to get a lot of points in game week 6, but game week 5 is not looking as hot. So that's why I sort of suggested a free hit. So yeah, we'll see if the manager of the week follows my advice this time around. Last week, like I mentioned, I advised getting Semenyo. He got 13 points. I advised triple captaining Haaland. He got 13 points. So that would have been good advice. So hopefully I'm at the right track here as well. But yeah, updated free hit team will be on my team section video. That will be later on in the week. But this podcast has also come to an end, as the week will be eventually. And as always, when this podcast comes to an end, we leave the final word for Kevin. So take it away, Kevin, before we end this podcast.
For more reasons than one, considering I have some menu and Barcelona are going to be playing them tomorrow. Fuck Newcastle.